Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Copenhagen. This is a show where we talk about the city we live in, this city we love. That's Copenhagen. With me, as always, is Rodolfo, and I am Ford.
What's up, Ford?
Not much. Little grumpy today, aren't you?
Yeah, I woke up late. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of same. I'm a little tired myself.
Should go to bed early
Yeah,
or earlier.
that's an option.
But Fridays are not. Friday is not really the day you want to go to bed early.
No, you know what's been tilting us lately is
Us?
well, me and my girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
I mean, since we've been here, it seems like there's a guy building a boat in the apartment above us with like a sawzall or something. And I don't. He's not building a boat, you know. He's just. I don't know what the fuck's going on up there, but it just sounds like there's like. It's not like a full day of construction work. It's like a full 3 year period where like once every maybe 3.25 hours he turns on the sawzall for like 10 seconds and then he like waits like 10 minutes. So you start falling back asleep and you're like, all right, this guy's fucking done. He just needed to chop down like he just needed to cut one fucking thing, you know? I can go back to bed. And then as soon as it's like 10 minutes in and you're about to drift off back to sleep, he turns that fucking sawzall back on again.
It's like an electric saw.
Yeah, it's like zzz, you know that fucking sound they make.
How early does it start?
Sometimes as early as 8 or 9. And like I said, it if it was almost just like a constant thing where the guys just it's like work hard and get it over with. Instead, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna do one cut every 3 hours for the next 3 fucking years. It's tilting me. And then they're doing this work on a road out here, and it's been hot lately. I'm tilted by all this construction noise.
Yeah, I on one of my old apartments that I used to live in. There was something very similar. I think I lived there for 4 years. No. Sorry, I lived there for 2 years, and I think throughout the whole time, I remember randomly hearing sawing noises on just right above me.
Yeah, what the fuck?
But it wasn't electric sawing. It was actually, like someone is sawing something manually in an apartment in Österpol.
I mean, I can get that you're doing like some renovations or some work on your
Constantly
apartment or
throughout the
whatever.
whole year.
But yeah, I mean, don't you say, you know what? I need to fix up the bathroom and fix it up, and then you're fucking done for a while. Like, do you just chop one piece of wood like every month? I just don't get it. I never lived with anything like this in my life. Just every now and then, just saw some shit and then stop for a month, and then saw some more shit. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe
You
maybe
should,
it's just practicing.
is that the same guy who ordered the piano?
No, yeah, well, yeah, maybe it is. Somebody ordered a fucking piano, and somebody knocked on the door, and we were, I don't know, I was like busy with something, and I went and I just went to the door. Or no, I'm sorry. The door was open. I think my girlfriend was taking the trash out. So the front door was just open. She walked out, took some trash out, and some guys start just bringing a fucking grand piano in here. It's like, hey, dude, what are you doing? This is our place, you know? It's just like, oh, we were delivering a piano to someone. Yeah, I don't want it in here.
So you could have just
Had a free
had
piano.
a free piano
I'm
if you
pretty
wanted.
sure
Huh?
the guy upstairs would have been like, "Hey, where's my piano?" And then they would have, then I would have had to deal with them bringing it back out and all that shit. I don't want a piano. I can't even fucking play that thing. I could play like not even not the entertainer.
The entertainer
No,
is
no,
not very
that's
easy.
hard. I can play whatever.
Jingle bell, twinkle twinkle little star.
I can play some shit
Some
on
shit.
there. I forget what it's called. I can play like chopsticks and that little basic shit.
Or you can play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
I probably
Come
can
on.
play Twinkle
It's
Twinkle.
not-
Yeah.
I think it's just
Oh, I
consecutive
can
notes.
play what's that other one? Dun 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 dun.
Oh, that's just a blues progression.
Is it? Okay, well, I can play that little shit then. If it doesn't have a name.
It's just a blues
Fair enough.
progression, you know?
Look at me. I'm a blues pianist.
Well, I guess technically, if you can play that, you can call yourself a blues pianist. But I'll tell you one thing for it: nobody else will call you a blues pianist.
That's fine.
They'll just call you a chump.
Because I'm never going to fucking call myself a blues pianist anyway.
Never say never for it.
Well, all right. You got me.
I mean, there must be things that 10 years ago you never imagined that you
I
could be
never
doing.
imagined I'd be living in Copenhagen, Denmark. I was just sitting in Texas thinking like, man, it's hot out here. Now I kind of wish in a way sometimes
That you were
for
in
weather.
Texas.
Well, I don't wish I was in Texas cuz I like it here a lot better, but sometimes I wish they just moved some of the weather here. Although it is really oppressively hot in Texas during the summer, so maybe a balance. Like if we could take the best parts of Denmark weather, which is like 5% of the year, and the best parts of Texas weather, which is like the entire winter season because it's so fucking mild.
And some food,
Yeah, yeah.
some
Bring over
genuine
some
Mexican or
Tex-Mex,
Tex-Mex
some
food.
quality burgers and barbecue,
Come on, there's good burgers here.
and yeah, oh, there's good burgers here. But you just bring. Hey, it doesn't hurt to have some extra variety, just some competition.
There's a lot of competition with burgers here.
Hey, the consumer burgers. If there's like a Texas brisket barbecue burger over here or something, you
I
know.
think the biggest difference is just the size. They would make him like 2 or 3 times as big.
And are you going to complain?
No, I'm not going to complain
All
about
right.
that. But
Anyways, bring some Tex-Mex here. That would be great. Like some enchiladas, some fucking fajitas, some proper nachos. Nobody understands how to make nachos here, apparently. But I haven't had any good nachos here. The ones,
the ones in Christiania.
the nachos themselves aren't good. The chips and cheese part is not good. The only reason that dish is good is because you get like a fucking kilo of good grilled chicken for like 20 crowns extra.
Yeah,
They
that
put
was.
so much chicken on there. I mean, basically, you could just order grilled chicken from those guys. That's all it's really for. The chips aren't that good.
I was very pleasantly surprised last time
Yeah.
I had, or the first time I had it.
Yeah, if you're in Nemo Land, there's like one of those stands. There's like the falafel stand to the right of the Nemo bar, and then to the left of that, there's like another kind of snack stand where they sell like, I don't know.
Isn't it Nemo's Kitchen?
Is it Nemo's Kitchen?
I don't know.
Okay,
It might be, it might not. But yeah, it's right there.
yeah, and it's like 90 crowns or like 80 or 90 crowns for the nachos, and if you pay 20 crowns extra, you can get chicken. But like, I almost feel like it should be the other way around, right? I feel like you get 90 crowns worth of chicken and 20 crowns worth of chips.
I don't even think I got extra chicken.
Yeah,
I think I paid less than 100 last
Yeah,
time.
tell them extra chicken.
But I got enough chicken as it is.
Yeah, well, you can get extra. Just
You
have,
want some?
well,
Dude, you know that I tend to eat quite well, and at least in terms of amount of food. And
yeah, you're
I'm
bulking.
telling you that shit was not easy to
Well, I was
to finish.
I was with our friend who likes to eat a lot, and he likes to get good deals.
Oh, so you didn't eat the
He's
whole
like
thing by yourself?
he's like the negotiator. Yeah, no, we split it, but he's like, hey, I want some extra chicken and some extra cheese, and I don't want to pay for any extra, but I just want you to hook me up. And
Yeah,
she was like, okay, sure. I was like, Jesus Christ, all you
Did
got
you
to
just ask that directly?
I don't know if it was that direct, but that was the basic gist of it. I mean, if he had said that, it wouldn't have come across any different because that's what she heard. She's like, okay, this guy wants some extra shit and doesn't want to pay for it.
You
She's
know?
like, all right, whatever.
I feel it might be somewhat related to what we were talking about last week about how Danes are just so more direct
Yeah.
in how they talk,
Yeah.
you know, and that for some people like me, sometimes it just sounds kind of rude. But I guess that's just the way.
Yeah, well,
they
also, I mean, if you
communicate.
never ask for it, you're never going to get it.
That
and,
is
and if
true.
you kind of pussyfoot around it a little bit and just be like, well, you know, I'm a little bit peckish today. And she's like, what the fuck does that mean? You just tell her, hey, I want some extra fucking meat. then you got it, you know? I mean, it's not that hard. The worst thing she can do is say, no, you're going to have to pay extra. And you say, well, all right, or no, I don't want to.
Should you try it out for it?
What?
Just
Being
start
extra
being,
direct? Just
yeah,
completely direct?
Just
Like,
being direct to the point that it might actually be rude.
you know, I started reading. I linked a thing in our chat group. I never knew about this subreddit. It's called "Saved You a Click." You know all those fucking articles that are like, you'll never believe. I mean, those are like so obviously clickbait, but it's like there's some that are like everybody's gotten so used to clickbait that there's like levels of clickbait that you're kind of okay with. You're
Yeah.
like, find out what happens when he tried coffee for the next few days. Or like, this is how my whatever went. But there's like nothing actually of value in the title except to hook you. And then in the fucking articles, it's one of those dumbass pages where you have to click a button 20 times to get every item in the list or whatever. Anyways, there's a whole subreddit called Saved You a Click. And it literally says the headline, which is always really clickbaity. and then it's
And
just like
just a one-word
a
answer.
pipe character and the shortest answer possible. So one of these was like, researchers studied the design of the SR-71 Blackbird, and you'll never find out, or you'll never guess what they found out. Okay, and here's the TLDR: the design is good. It's like that's the whole fucking article. It's like 42 clicks to basically get to the point. So I started reading that now. I love it. I'm honestly to the point where I just see those articles and I'm like, all right, what's just cut to the fucking chase.
You know that there must be a way of just training some AI
There is. Have you
to.
ever seen that Reddit bot that posts like whenever there's a news article and the bot is like, this is the most concise and condensed version of this article that I could create.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's
I've
like
seen
saved 81% of words and then just has a little paragraph, which is like the TLDR.
it.
I love that fucking bot.
Yeah, you're still missing some stuff there.
It's,
On the clickbait thing, the other day I saw one that I can't quote the exact thing, but it was something along the lines of, he killed his own wife and threw her in the sea. You're not gonna believe what he used.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like
it's not.
he like helped her with like assisted suicide or like put her out of her misery and then put her ashes in the ocean and they talk about murdering or something. Is that it? Can I
I
just
don't know.
guess?
I didn't open it, but my
Okay.
guess is that instead of being like, you're never gonna believe what he did, it was more like, he killed her. You're never gonna believe what weapon he used. You know?
Oh my god.
It was really
Fucking hands. I don't know.
or a lead pipe or something like that. I didn't open it, but
Fucking laptop after he read his last clickbait article just smashed
but
her.
I have to say I usually get kind of I forgot the word now, but like kind of confused because sometimes I read those things and I really just want to know what the fuck the answer is, but I don't want to click.
Yeah.
You know?
And then you're thinking about it and it's like eating you up inside. Like,
Yeah, it's
you
like-
want to know that simple because you know all those
You know,
articles are bullshit.
I-
But deep
I
down,
do-
you want to know the simple answer. You're like, okay, so what's the fucking short story?
I do want to know what weapon he used, but I have no idea because I didn't click it. But it was probably something completely
Super
obvious,
basic.
you know?
Yeah. Like it was
It's like,
Jack,
oh, use the revolver.
yeah, it was
Okay.
Jack in the kitchen with a candlestick, you know? Did you ever play that game?
Oh, Clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that
Oh,
game.
I love that game.
I love
too.
that game. I used to
I
like.
could go for some Clue.
I think there's an iPhone Clue game.
Is there? No, I like when you have the actual physical board.
Oh, sure, and
all that
play with
stuff.
real people
Yeah,
because then you
and-
can just taunt them and shit like
Yeah,
that
that's
when
what
they
I
get
mean.
it wrong.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, that's half the fun, right?
Of course. That's what board games are just about, sitting around and having a good time.
I like the game. What's your favorite board game?
If it kind of Monopoly style games, Acquire.
Oof, I hate Monopoly.
Acquire was a really good one, but the thing is, most people aren't really into that style of game because they last a really long time if you play by the proper rules. And then like if
Monopoly shouldn't.
well, I know.
Actually, the reason it lasts so long is
That's 'cause
because
the house rules and stuff,
nobody
yeah.
plays by the real rules.
Anyways, the thing is, yeah, I don't know the house rules versus all the other the official rules. I don't know the rules that most people end up playing by. It ends up taking way too fucking long. And also, if everybody knows how to play the game properly, which is like you basically buy every property you land on and just try to trade and barter for the things, and then you put a max of 3 houses until you have a certain amount, and then you could put more. But like, if everybody knows that, then it's not really that fun. But then if only 1 or 2 people know that, then it's just like a slaughter. And then I don't know,
Yeah.
a lot of, so the idea of the game is really cool. I enjoy playing the game, or I did when I was young. I haven't played it in a long time, but I think Acquire is a more deep game.
You know, the Monopoly was actually created by some. Was it communist or something like? It was actually created to show the dangers of capitalism and or unregulated
Yeah.
capitalism,
Yeah, I've
and
read
just
that.
of letting someone own basically everything.
Yeah.
I guess it was kind of lost in
Well, I mean, I
with
don't know.
time.
I guess. I don't know.
I never liked the game.
I liked Clue a lot. I liked
Clue was fun.
Was it like Life and Shoots and Ladders? I mean, those are like little. There's some
Oh,
kids games.
shoots
in
and
it.
ladders. That's just
I know,
basically just roll a fucking
just roll
die
the dice and move it. But then, like the artwork and all. I mean, I don't know. That's some kids shit. But I guess more than the game itself and the mechanics is you remember like the memories, like playing that game with your family or friends and just having a good time, regardless of what exactly you were playing.
Do you know a game called Payday? I don't think it's very popular.
I
It's
don't know.
on
I don't
Board
know.
Game Geek for sure.
Kind of
But
sounds familiar, but I mean, there's a bunch of payday video games too, so I might be confusing them.
that was probably my favorite board
You
game.
hear this? Fuck. You hear it?
Yeah. But is this from your neighbor? Yeah, I hear
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
that's like some fucking
This
build.
is from your neighbor.
That's somebody in this building. I don't know if it's over here. It's like not directly above me, but one over. Yes, you hear that? It's like a 20-second fucking sawzall
Okay, it's
buzz.
not that bad for it. Come on.
No.
I thought it was going to be much worse.
No. Sometimes it's much louder. He must be on the other side of it. Sometimes it's really like feels like it's in our fucking apartment. But it'll be like that 20-second fucking buzz, and then you won't hear anything for like couple hours. You're like, oh yeah, okay, I can finally relax and go back to sleep, and then it's just like comes again.
Are these are kind of modern buildings?
Yeah,
Do you hear your neighbors a lot? Like besides,
Never,
of course,
never.
Okay,
The walls are super thick.
I live on Istegel on basically old buildings, an old Vestapol building. You hear everything. And my upstairs neighbor, he just decided to have a kid now.
Oh,
And
God.
apparently the kid likes to wake up very early and just, I don't know, ride a tricycle inside the apartment or something like that.
Yeah,
I
maybe you never know. He could get like one of those little toy hammers and just start like trying to act like he's a carpenter, banging on things.
Yeah,
That would probably
honestly,
be the best for you.
I don't know what's worse. I feel like I want to buy a harmonica and just start practicing, just to show them
How
like,
annoying it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they're gonna be like, "Well, we have a fucking kid. What do you want us to do?"
Oh, that's fine. And I have a fucking harmonica. I mean,
We made
whose
different.
fault is it?
Who made the better life choice? I don't know.
At least I can practice and improve myself into
At
something.
least I can put this harmonica in a drawer and leave it there.
And just we, and kind of the magical thing about harmonicas is that if you get just a regular harmonica, you can't really play wrong notes because all the notes are within the key.
Yeah, that's right.
But I kind of wish I could get a harmonica that would just sound off key, just to piss them off even more.
Yeah. Well, you could just like be who's the
What's
guy?
the worst instrument I could get to annoy people?
Probably bagpipes. And if you get bagpipes, you gotta learn that like official. What is that shit that they play at like funerals and shit? Just like wake up early in the morning, 5 a.m. Play that fucking bagpipe tune.
Dude, I think they'd kick me out. It's an Andale, I think they'd kick me out of the whole place if I was playing bagpipes.
You know,
But you got a point there. I have to say that.
I mean, that's probably the most annoying. You did ask what's the most annoying you could get out. You know the tune I'm talking about, right?
No, I don't.
It's like the bagpipe shit you hear in every. It's like the only song bagpipe players know.
Some Irish or Scottish or
they
Gaelic.
Yeah,
thing.
they play it at funerals and like official somber events.
No, I mean you got a point there.
All right, we'll listen to it after.
I have to say bagpipes would probably be worse than, but I think harmonica would actually be up there.
Yeah, our harmonic for the budget and the effort that's required for you to learn, because bagpipes are really actually a hard instrument. You got to have a lot of lung power and you got to learn the
it
technique.
would probably be, if you really wanted to cause major annoyance, it would probably be some kind of blowing instrument, right?
Yes, yeah,
or an amplified
stuff like
amplified instrument, like
yeah, but I think even like the brass and blown instruments are even more obnoxious.
They just cut through the walls.
Drums, of course, but I mean that's
well, yeah, especially if you play off rhythm.
Yeah, drums, of course, but yeah, like a trumpet or fucking bagpipes, that'd be the best. And yeah, there you go. Learn circular breathing, get some bagpipes. They're kind of expensive too, so maybe the harmonica makes a lot more sense. You can buy that for like 100
How
crowns.
much does bagpipes cost?
I can look it up if you're fucking interested.
They might have some on DBA.
Let's look. At
Actually, you should. Yeah, you should look
some
on
fucking bagpipes.
on DBA.
Well, bagpipe mic technique. That's not what we want. Bagpipes by Bo.
Just go to DBA for it.
I just want to buy some bagpipes. No, I searched with DBA.
No, I say go to dba.dk.
Oh, I wonder how you say bagpipes in fucking Danish. Yeah, it's this going home. This Scottish.
Okay,
bagpipes
we'll listen
thing.
to it
We're
afterwards.
gonna listen to that later. But we just look on eBay for some bagpipes. Want some used ones? That's not the.
That's not too much.
No. I mean, I don't think that's the set you fucking want,
No,
Dolph.
but that's
You want a
500
proper.
krona.
I guess okay. You should get them then. You should get a set of these bagpipes for like 500 Danish crowns.
Dude, there's 34 sold there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. Look at that. You get all the fucking pieces. I don't know anything. Look at all these fucking pieces on here. You got a bunch of shit to manage. That seems way more complicated than a.
You know, our one of our bosses, he plays in a blues rock band. I actually think at some point they had a bagpipe player there.
Yeah.
At least for one song. They
we-
were playing an AC/DC cover,
Yeah.
and they had the bagpipe player for that
I mean, it
one.
might even be worth your while since they're so annoying. And if you're playing them, it's also, I mean, I guess when you're playing an instrument, it's less annoying, but it's still going to be annoying. What you could do is just pay a guy to sit in your apartment and play bagpipes while you're at work.
Isn't it easier to just have my computer on with the speakers quite loud?
No. The speakers playing bagpipes is not the same as bagpipes playing bagpipes in your face. It's like
Yeah, but
drums.
it's cheaper.
Yeah, but you can listen to a recording of drums and not be like damaging your hearing. But if somebody plays drums in the room with you, it's gonna fuck you up. And it's anyways. Don't worry about playing bagpipes, Dolph. Just pay a guy. Have him come in there one day, just like a day after the kid's been really bad. And just like early in the morning, come into work early, 7 a.m. Fucking this guy playing Going Home on repeat. There you go.
I used to live below sorry, not below, but I used to have a neighbor who played the violin,
Yeah.
and sometimes I was at my neighbor's place, which was just underneath where she lived, and I have to say that even though violin is not really the most annoying sound, when just hearing someone practice something, you know, because they
yeah.
basically play the same thing over and over and over,
Yeah.
it gets quite fucking annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the guy above us also was practicing the flute at some point, and yeah, all those woodwind and blown instruments, the sound resonates throughout.
Because they're very high, they're very
A lot of harmonics.
high pitch.
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
harmonics are like perfect. I don't know. There you go.
Bagpipes.
An accordion too. Actually, I'm just looking at people also search for accordion. Accordion would be pretty annoying as well, and maybe a little easier to play. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be easier to play because at least you have the keys.
And actually, I think accordion's a pretty cool instrument. Don't get me wrong.
I like it.
Don't get me wrong. Bagpipes are kind of cool, but there's only about one tune you can play on them. You know, at least with an accordion, you could be a little more versatile.
I think the only issue I have with accordion is that a lot of traditional Portuguese folk music uses the accordion, and I'm not talking about the good kind of folk music. I'm talking about the bad, cheesy kind of folk music. And so I associate bad music with accordion. But I know Leonard Cohen had some accordion in some of his songs, and it worked well there. You know, so I guess it can be used.
It's all about finding the right piece or the right composition for that instrument, I guess, and having it probably not having a super main role, sitting in the background a little bit.
Is it like a Southern European Mediterranean instrument, accordion, or
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do I look like? An accordion historian?
I don't know.
Place
but
of
I-
origin.
I
Okay. Well,
I
here we go.
associate it-
Bagpipes, place of origin, Europe. Okay.
I don't. I'm talking about the origin. But at least
Accordion, place of origin,
Europe, yeah.
early 1900s.
I meant more like where it is mostly used, because I associate it with either North African or Middle Eastern or Southern European.
It's widely spread
Music.
across the world. In some countries like Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico, it's used in popular music. Whereas in other regions like Europe and North America and some countries in South America, it tends to be more used for dance, pop, and folk music.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's basically South America, which was
It's the official city instrument of San Francisco, California.
that is interesting.
The oldest name for this group of instruments is harmonica, from the Greek harmonikos, meaning harmonic, musical.
Yeah, it's tricky sometimes here in Denmark. If I want to, people say harmonica when they actually mean the accordion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I think in Danish
Yeah.
you call it something sounding like harmonica.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that's kind of cool looking. key resting. I'm just like looking at the diagram of how that works. Boy, check out the diagram of how an accordion works. The pallet mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
That looks cool. Well, there you go, Dolph. I think an accordion or bagpipes is your best bet if you want to be the most annoying. A harmonica is like a really good option too. But then you just play don't play it very well. Just play the same shit over and over like you're practicing. And don't play it that
just
great.
blow in and out of it.
Yeah, you could do like the guy that sits by the station playing the flute, just one note over and over again.
Oh man, I love that guy.
He makes so much money. And then
Does he?
Yeah. They found him, like they saw him in all parts of Europe. There's pictures
I've seen
of
him
that
in
guy.
Spain, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently he makes like a ridiculous amount of money. People just give him money all the time. Plays one note over and over on like a little clarinet or a recorder or something.
Yeah, I think it's a recorder.
Yeah,
He plays one note and he wears a cow hat.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of the charm.
Yeah.
The cow hat. I mean, he is basically a staple of Danish
society.
I guess you can call it society. I meant like street presence, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's very few people who live in Denmark or in Copenhagen that wouldn't know him, I will assume. He's really striking, you know? I mean, you don't pass by him without noticing him.
No.
Just boop, boop,
No.
boop, 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 boop.
He does it kind of slower though, right? It's not
maybe,
too fast.
Yeah. No.
It's like a 80 BPM or something.
To be honest, I don't even know if he keeps time that well.
I bet he did. I bet over time he's just kind of like developed what's comfortable for him, because you don't want to use too much. You got to have a nice breathing routine. If you're going to play the same note over and over for basically the rest of your life, you can't do it too quick.
How much money do you think he makes?
Every day, at least $100. I guarantee it. Probably more.
$100, like 700 kroner?
Yeah, 700 crowns easily every day. Probably closer to 1,000 or more. You'd be surprised how much those people make. And to be fair,
I know go on.
It's like he's not doing the standard thing where he looks really depressed and mopey.
No,
and
no,
just
he
like,
stands
give me
out.
some money. Like he's just
Which is probably the best
out there
thing.
doing something, and people are like, "Oh, that's interesting." Like he's not doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. Yeah, sure.
And it's amusing. It's funny.
Yeah. So people give him money.
One of our bosses, he has a son who plays on the street.
A busker.
A busker, yeah. I heard that it's not even on a good day. I think on average, he might make like for a 1 hour playing, you might make like 700 krona. 1-2 hours max.
For 1 hour?
I think so.
Damn, that's good.
It's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, you can basically live off
Maybe
that.
1-2 hours, you know? I don't know if it's
No,
exact. But still, especially as a student,
Think about it. If you make
it's a lot of fucking
if
money.
you make about 1,000 crowns in 1 hour or 2 hours in a day, and you do that 5 days a week,
you have 30K.
you make.
Oh, well, no,
Well, yeah,
not 5 days
you
a
don't
week.
do it on. Well, I mean, of course, you probably do it on the weekend, and on the weekend, you probably make even more. But I mean, what I'm saying is, if he only picks 5 days a week, he's easily making 20K before taxes.
Yeah.
And that's
taxes.
just
Do you
like,
think he pays taxes?
well, no, if it's cash, probably not. But what I'm saying is, just for an hour or two a day,
It's pretty
that's
fucking good.
great money. I mean, if I could do that, I think I would. I really think I would. What is he? Do they have a whole setup with like electric instruments and stuff, or do they just have like an acoustic out there?
No, well, he probably has
little
some
mini
kind of
amplifier?
microphone and an amplifier.
Okay,
But
so he sings and plays.
Yeah, he sings and plays, and he plays popular songs that
Yeah.
might help.
Just like
I
covers
guess.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
why,
just
why
pop
not?
music,
Why
basically.
not? I mean, people want something familiar.
I was very surprised when he told me about the
Damn, I
the
didn't
amount
even-
of money he makes.
I didn't even know
I
that.
thought it was pretty fucking significant for a short work time, so
Yeah.
to say. And it's not even. I mean, if you're doing that because you like it.
Yeah, like you don't start playing guitar and singing because you like want
Yeah,
to
'cause
make a
you're
lot
forced-
of money. You're like,
Yeah.
what a joke that is. You got to actually love doing it. And then, yeah, if you end up making money, it's just because you got really lucky or you just happen to be doing something people like. Because I don't think most people make money in the industry anymore that much. You're either super wildly successful or basically just making ends meet if you're like a musician.
Yeah, I really don't know how it works, especially not here in Denmark. I really don't know.
No, and
But
also I
Denmark is
guess
so expensive, or
I,
Copenhagen is so expensive.
I also guess the money isn't very consistent, right? Either if like if you're a studio album musician where you're putting stuff out, I mean, it's only going to coincide around the time of the release until you have a big enough library of work where you might get royalties rolling in on a steady basis. But even then, I
Hmm.
mean, you need a deep library, and some of your songs have to be really popular and constantly played to get enough royalties because you get like 0.25% of all the plays, some ridiculously low number.
Is there a That's not a Danish
Oh, I'm not talking
thing.
about
It's
Danish
just
in general. And that number,
universal. Or,
don't quote me on that
Mhm.
specific
No, no,
number.
no, no.
But what I'm saying is like you could have somebody that made a wildly popular song, like something maybe I don't know, a quarter as popular as Gangnam Style or something, and you would be shocked at how little they actually get in royalties.
Hmm.
Like they'll be having like 50 million, 100 million, 200 million plays a year, and they get like I don't know a few $1,000 here and there. You know, like you think in your mind, like
Yeah, yeah.
wow, they're like a multimillionaire now, and maybe they are if
Well,
they
they
play all
probably.
their cards right with like from, and a lot of that would be from live shows
Yeah,
and
exactly.
reperformances and stuff like that. But like just from the royalties itself, yeah, I don't think they
Yeah,
get an
that's not where the
enormous
money
amount.
is anymore.
No,
It's what live shows, stuff like that, or just
I think the majority of all money that musicians are getting nowadays is live shows. Yeah, that's like the biggest percentage and the most consistent thing they can get.
that's probably also why Taylor Swift removed their music from Spotify. I know she was trying to make a statement of some kind,
Yeah.
like about how little Spotify paid. But
Do you think that's really it? I mean, I guess at the time she said that,
I
but didn't
mean, what would
she
be the
also had a
point?
special deal with Apple, right? And
I don't know.
yeah, whatever. I
I
mean,
don't know.
I get it. That girl's actually probably pretty smart, or she got some smart people handling her money around her because she's going to be
She
worth.
she seems pretty down to earth,
Yeah,
in
I don't know.
as far as extremely successful pop stars go.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah, but I mean, either way, I think she's worth a lot, and she got some people taking care of her money pretty well. Or she's making good decisions herself. I don't know because it seems like she's always just like you know how some people you can tell they're just enterprising individuals, like they're not the type of people who are going to get paid any less than what they think they demand.
Hmm.
And then there's some people it's like, okay, well if you feel like paying me that, that's all right. You know, like a little more easygoing. And then some people are just like maybe not like cash hungry, but they refuse to like basically work for
To
any
give
less than they
in,
think.
yeah.
Yeah, they're very hard in negotiations and stuff like that. It doesn't make them a bad person or anything. I just think some people are a little more I'm a little more easygoing than that, I think.
Are you? Is money
Yeah,
not the most important thing for you? For
after a certain level of money, I think once you can live kind of comfortably,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, then the goal is to be able to retire and live comfortably earlier, you know,
yeah.
than you would normally do. But and of course, yeah, you would love to hit some $1 million payday or some multi-million-dollar thing where you can just quit your job. Um,
That's one of the things that I
but
like about Denmark is that even though it's expensive, and I mean, of course, I'm going to talk about this probably from quite a privileged position because I have a nice paying job, but like even though you pay a lot of taxes, or I pay a lot of taxes, everybody does. I feel that it's pretty easy to just not worry about anything. You know, it's easy to again for me to save a little bit of money.
yeah,
You don't have to worry about, like in the States, about you get run over by a car and all your savings
yeah,
are gone. Plus, you get debt for the next 5 years and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
And
I
that
agree.
really takes a lot of worry out of
Yeah, the financial worry of
anything.
everything. It is a lot of financial worry in it when I was in the US. And to be fair, I got paid pretty damn well. Like I was in the top, maybe not 1%, of course, but I mean, I was like,
5%,
I was
maybe.
in maybe the top 10%, top
Hmm.
15% of earners as far as like a yearly salary, you know, like I made
Yeah,
decent money. Um, and you still worried because like when you make a little bit of money but you're not ultra rich, it means that you're kind of almost like a target because now you have a little bit of money that either a creditor or a lawyer or somebody could take from you, but you don't have quite deep enough pockets to defend yourself with lawyers. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you're in that awkward position of having like 30 or $40,000 sitting around. I mean, you can pay for like a little bit of legal assistance with that. But then all that money you're trying to save from being taken from you is gone to the lawyers instead. So, but whereas if you're like a multi-million dollar guy, like you can easily defend or attack somebody. The litigation system and all the legal shit in the U.S. is just fucking
Yeah.
ridiculous. And then yeah, if you get hit by a car and let's say you're unconscious, well, they're going to take you in the ambulance or life flight, or God forbid you get taken in life flight. I mean, if you would have survived in an ambulance, you'd be happy to not be in a life flight, because I think the charges for when you get put in the helicopter, like, it is just
Yeah,
absolutely
you're gonna be paying that
ridiculous.
shit for the rest
Yeah,
of
like
your life.
$500,000 or
Oof.
something, or I don't know. I don't know the number, but I know like an ambulance ride alone can be in anywhere from $20,000 to $120,000,
Wow.
and the associated with hospital stay. I mean, that's not even counting the hospital stay.
Hmm.
So yeah, you can just have all your net worth wiped out by one unfortunate accident that maybe wasn't even your fault
Not
at
your
all.
fault, yeah.
And
But then probably in true American fashion, maybe you can sue them.
yeah, and then you got to fight them to get them to pay.
Jeez.
Yeah, and you know those
Uh,
things are going to go about as you'd expect. Everybody involved is going to want to try to save as much and fight as hard. And so by the time that you end up winning a settlement, that
Yeah.
guy might have paid most of his money to lawyers and doesn't have enough assets to cover you.
Hmm.
So he's basically in debt. And then you're going to garnish his wages over the next 20 years, like take some of his paycheck. Yeah, it's a fucked up system. And out of that whole thing that you would get, most of it probably went to your lawyers anyway, because you didn't have the money up front to pay them.
Yeah.
So they only took the case because they knew they could win it, and on the condition that you gave them like 70% of the winnings.
Would that much?
It can be. Yeah. Yeah. You don't think the lawyers are going to? Yeah, of course, man. It's ridiculous, man. Because what else are you going to do? You're either going to take that 30% slice, or you're not going to have a fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So, I mean, there's no like public civil lawyers. The only people there are looking for profit and money.
Dude, last time I was in New York City, I met this girl and we're just walking around. And at some point I was crossing the street just randomly, like not on a crosswalk. I was just crossing the street.
Jaywalking.
Yeah, jaywalking basically. And I noticed that I do it and she stays behind. I'm like, come on, there's nobody coming. And she was like, yeah, I need to be extra careful. I don't have health insurance. And it just kind of hit me at the time, like, it's one of those things that I guess I just take for granted.
Never think about.
It's so crazy that someone has to worry about. I mean, of course,
freak
don't
accident, getting
jaywalk
hurt. Yeah,
because
well,
you can get run over. But I mean, I saw that there wasn't anybody coming.
It's a funny story about that jaywalking thing, and I don't know the full history of it, but that was basically made a crime, with like some push from the car industry.
Yeah,
like
from the early 1900s.
Yeah, they were trying to make it like less friendly because bicycles were competitive against cars. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
wanted everybody to
Mhm.
have a car. And so they were basically trying to make cars king of the road. And in the US nowadays, cars are king of the road. If you get hit on a bike or like walking or something, the blame is like immediately on you. It's like, well, you shouldn't have been fucking walking there. Whereas in Europe, it's like, at least here in Denmark, they have this rule where the softest target wins or has the priority, right? So a person walking has priority over the bike. The bike has to yield to them if they would otherwise hit them.
Mhm.
And then if there's a bike, then a car has to yield to them if the bike would otherwise hit them. I mean, of course, there's certain rules about physics and the laws of physics that, you can't stop a car on a dime. But I mean, just by default, you can basically walk out in front, like you can walk through a crosswalk and be pretty fucking certain that people are going to stop for you in a car.
Yeah.
And they're more mindful about bikes and all that stuff. Whereas in the US, you just get hit. People joke about killing bicyclists in the US. And then when a biker
Dude,
gets
and-
hit,
and,
there'll be comments like, he shouldn't have been in a fucking bike.
Yeah.
Should have been on the bike lane or whatever, It's like,
And I've seen videos of like cars just very clearly hitting them,
Yeah.
or at least grazing them
yeah.
when making them fall on purpose, just
Yeah.
because like, get out of my road. I'm the
Yeah.
one paying for the roads or whatever.
Yeah. There's this whole concept of like that you basically own the road when you're in a car. And I mean, you got to think about it. That's not like a human life. It's somebody's life that you're basically, because of your inconvenience and time, you got to rush somewhere or whatever.
Dude, as soon as people get inside a fucking
Sad.
car, it's like they become these
Disconnected from the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're in your own little world because you have these
King of your
four
castle.
walls around you.
Yep.
And And you really just become a bit of an asshole, or even more of an asshole than you
You
might have
just become
already been.
disconnected. You become disconnected from everything around you. It's like it's almost like you put up a barrier, and yeah, you're in a separate world. That's why also the car extends like castle doctrine in the U.S., where you can defend your castle, where you can shoot people. Like if they come into your home and attack you, or
Hmm.
they come into your home, you can shoot them. If they come into your car, like in a lot of states that have that, they have castle doctrine. It extends to your car, which is why, like in Texas, for example, you can carry a gun in your glove compartment, loaded and ready to go, even if you don't have a license to carry a gun. As long as you can
Really?
legally own, yeah, as long as you can legally own a gun,
Hmm.
and as long as it's in Texas, at least it's concealed from plain sight and not obviously accessible to other people,
Yeah.
you can have a gun in your car like as if it's an extension of your home. So that if somebody tries to break into your car while you're inside of it, or like attack you or carjack you or something, you can defend yourself there. It's an interesting theory, but I mean, that's kind of the part of like, yeah, when you get in the car, it becomes your own, it's your own space,
Property.
like
Yeah.
separate from the outside world. So there's this big disconnect. And that's I actually noticed when I moved here, when you're biking around, you get such a better feel for like the surrounding area and the overall feel of the neighborhood, and kind of the, you know how the every area has like a bit of street life or a
Hmm.
feeling to it, where you're like, okay, this neighborhood is more chill, or this neighborhood's kind of
Yeah.
lively and dangerous. Maybe I should watch my back if I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like I don't
Yeah.
really feel like that too much in Denmark, but I mean sometimes you go to places like when we were in Greece, there's some areas where you're like, okay, I should make sure to keep my bag tight to me or
Hmm.
whatever, because there's probably some pickpockets around or whatever. But you can feel that a lot more when you're on a bike.
Yeah, but you're also not enclosed by
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
walls
Of
like
course.
a car or in
Yeah,
a
of
truck or
course.
something like that. So
You're
I
like,
think that helps a lot.
yeah, you're like directly connected to the surroundings. But
And
yeah,
you're not driving as fast. I think that probably, at least if you want to look and
yeah,
appreciate where you are,
yeah.
it it helps not to be just blazing around.
That's right.
Even though here in Denmark, well,
Bikers are a little rude.
yeah,
A little bit.
sometimes I guess a lot of the bikers tend to
Yeah.
get a bit.
Well,
They become the assholes in a way.
to be fair, I mean, most people here treat the bike like the people in the US treat a car. Like they're getting on it to go somewhere. They're not
Hmm.
necessarily always getting on it to take a la-di-da fucking ride through the city and just like enjoy the sights. They're taking it as a practical thing to get from point A to point B. And there's always some dumb fucking people in the bike lane texting, one hand on the handle, not even paying attention to the fucking bike lane. You know what I mean? Sometimes don't even have the hands on the wheel, just looking down at the phone, like just
Yeah,
cruising. And then
and there's
they're not
tourists.
staying on the right side, so you can't really pass them, and you
Hmm.
got to fucking ring the bell at them. And then there's tourists on
And
the
there's tourists
electric
who are not
bikes.
really, but they're not really used
They're not used to
to the
biking the city.
regulations or to the rules. And
And on top of that, they put them on those fucking rental bikes with the electric motor that are really heavy and unwieldy for like somebody who's not familiar with it to ride. It's kind of clunky and clumsy,
hmm
like we talked about on the last podcast. And on top of that, they're heavy as fuck and they go fast with the electric motor. So like I can imagine just getting mowed down by a tourist on one of those electric bikes, you know. But I don't know. I think it's pretty decent overall. I much prefer either taking the public transport or the bike, because then I don't have to think about it. I used to
didn't
hate.
you tell me last time that you haven't taken your bike out in
I
like 6 months or something?
No, I've been taking public transport recently. Just it's there's less to think about, but it's also the weather is so fucking inclement here, and it rains so often. I have to ride 7K straight, like down uh from Ama, and
7 kilometers.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's no protection from the wind or rain or anything. So like if it's the thing is, if you know it's raining when you're leaving, you're going to basically be getting rained on for 30 minutes straight. And if you have rain gear, okay, you're still going to be soaked when you get there and have to change out of the rain gear. You're also going to be sweating. And I mean, if you don't know it's raining right away, but you expect it could, then either you wear your rain gear and be ready when it does start raining and you're sweating, or you don't and you're fucking soaked when you get there and you should have brought a change of clothes. So it's like, I mean, only on days that are like perfectly nice and you know it's not going to be bad, I ride in. I mean, if I was closer to work, like 3K or 4K or something, I would ride way more often. The fact that I have to commit to a ride and can't really turn back or bail out or something if it really starts raining is why I don't do it much anymore. Just because I don't want to take a shower at work. I don't want to fuck around. I don't want to be sweaty at work. I take a shower in the morning right before I go. So I want to still be clean when I show up and not just reeking of sweat all day at work.
That's
But
very thoughtful of you
but
for it.
I enjoy it. I really enjoy riding. If the weather was nicer all the time, or I live just a little bit closer, I would ride way more. And also, I live right next to a metro, so I can literally just take the train right in. So
Yeah, you get a bit spoiled like that,
I'm
huh?
I'm really spoiled by the fact that the public transportation is so close to me.
I'm not really spoiled by public. Well, I live like what 10, 15 minutes from the central station, walking.
Yeah.
So I guess in a way I am a little bit spoiled as well.
It's like what, like 4 or 5 minutes here to walk to the station, and
Yeah, yeah.
I can take both the metro or I can take the regional train to Sweden or to Copenhagen Central Station. So it's really flexible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that honestly, that's probably the biggest reason. It's just convenience. I mean, the weather and all that stuff is another piece of the excuse or the puzzle or whatever. But more than anything, it's because we also go to the Danish classes, and so we pay for that mobile Pendlerkort, like the travel card where you just buy the zones.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I always
Just a
think,
regular
yeah,
monthly
like we
card,
pay
right?
monthly, like the equivalent of like $80, like 500 Danish crowns, to be able to travel in any zone anytime we want. So if I'm gonna already pay that,
Any zone?
well, 1, 2, and 3, which
Oh,
is
okay,
any, I
okay.
mean,
Yeah,
any
yeah, yeah,
zone in
yeah, yeah,
Copenhagen. I
yeah, yeah.
mean, there's nowhere
Okay.
you can go that's not in those zones, really,
Okay, I
besides
thought
the
you were talking
airport.
about the all zone card.
No,
That's quite more expensive.
no. But I mean, everywhere in Copenhagen for $80 a month, it's not expensive, but it's also not so cheap that I want to like if I only had
You
to,
want to use it?
yeah, like I want to use it a little bit, I guess, if that makes sense, and it's so convenient. So
I,
that's
I I don't think it's cheap, but I think
no,
I do like the public transportation here,
yeah,
even though I just walk everywhere. I like walking. People think I'm crazy sometimes,
yeah,
which
I
is
like it.
walking.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not quite as much as you, but
Mm-mm.
now I walk every day I walk from like Northport to our job, which is, it's not that far, but I mean, it's not like a 40-minute walk or anything. It's like what, 15 minutes in the morning from the station?
Yeah, 10,
10,
15 maybe.
15. Yeah, but I walk that every day and back. I mean, so I walk like 30 minutes a day, just right there during the transit period of my day instead of biking or whatever. But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy walking. There's that guy with the sawzall again.
That's outside for it. That's not your neighbor.
Either way, there is a guy. There is a guy in the building that does that shit too.
All right, talking about doing that shit for it.
Talking about noises we don't like. There was
Should
some concert goers unhappy with the sound and the delay at Tivoli concert for Erica Badu. Have you heard Erica Badu's music?
no. Well, I probably recognize like I don't know her most famous song or two most famous songs, but I wouldn't be able to hum it just out of my mind.
Hmm. Music fans that took in American Soul Diva Erica Badu's Copenhagen concert on Friday are lighting up social media with their dissatisfaction with the experience. Badu was scheduled to be on stage at 10 p.m., but she didn't appear until 10:45. Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Wow.
According to several Facebook users, the singer might as well just have taken the whole night off because it was virtually impossible to hear her anyway. Quote, Erica Badu and her band were amazing, but the sound at Tivoli was as bad as you have heard it. It is too many times, wrote Jacob Johansson on Facebook. Quote, I was standing 20 meters from the stage and everyone around me was leaning over to try to hear the music.
Wow.
Tivoli posted some regrets and apologies, but denied that they didn't post apologies, just regrets. They denied they were responsible for either problem. The delay and sound level were beyond Tivoli's control. Hmm.
I suppose this must be a new thing. Like it's not a recurring thing
Wow.
to make the news.
Other guests scoffed at the venue's response, with one saying that the sound quality has generally been too low for the Free Days Rock concerts for the past 2 seasons. Quote, get better or get out, posted Bent Aling or Oling.
Well, to be fair, I mean it's just someone posting on the internet. You know, people tend to get a bit.
They said they didn't know the reason for the delay, and they called the low volume level, quote, an artistic decision. I mean,
it sounds like a cop out, but
yeah,
but it could
some
be.
intimate singing music. I guess I could get a slightly like lower level, but You've been to a show that had pretty bad sound, and then they kinda fixed it later. Having a live sound guy that knows what the fuck he's doing is pretty important if you're gonna be put on a live show.
Are you talking about the specific show?
Yeah, I think you said you went to some, either rock or psychedelic rock thing, and for the first few tracks that they like, the sound was
Oh,
fucked up.
yes, yes, it was at Pumperhuzel. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't even think it was just for the first couple of tracks. I think it was just
for the whole show.
subpar for the whole show. But I did feel that they tried to improve it
At one point, they
at
were
some
like, "Wait,
point.
something's wrong. Let's try something. Let me
Yeah,
turn that knob up a little bit."
but yeah, I can understand how if there's a
If you paid good money to go see the show, you wanna at least be able to hear it.
yeah, and it's easy to fuck up the sound. I guess it's one of those things that you don't really think about because
It's it
when people do their job correctly,
It's just transparent,
yeah,
and you
exactly.
don't
You don't
notice. You
notice
don't
that
think,
they're
"Wow,
there.
the sound is really good here." You're
Yeah.
just like, "Okay, this is a fucking concert. It should be good."
But when it's bad,
Yeah.
you really
Yeah. Yeah. I, well, I got a lot of opinion on this because 'cause I'm a bit of a I don't know if audiophile is the right word, but among our group of friends, I'm probably the most audiophile person there is.
I think you
I
I think
don't
I consider you an audiophile for
I
it.
don't spend ridiculous sums of money on, like, fancy plated cables and, $10,000 stereo systems, but I have a really nice pair of headphones, like 600 euro headphones for
And
the
you're picky about
and I'm picky about sound
just sound
levels
in
in
general.
general, yeah. Um, but I mean, this is one of those things that you're not gonna please everybody. Because, like, for me, a lot of times, most concerts I go to, I feel like the sound is often bad because they push speakers or amplifiers beyond their limit. Like, they try to make it too loud. So they have a high sound pressure level that's loud enough, but they lose so much quality and distortion because they don't have high quality components behind it, or the speakers just aren't physically capable of accurately reproducing sound at that level. So usually, more than anything, in my opinion, it's often driven the other way. But I mean, it's one of those things where you're not going to please everybody. Some people are going to think it's too quiet, like, and some people are going to think it's too loud. So
It's also tricky with yeah, I think you mentioned something about an intimate sound that
yeah,
I guess like you don't want to play on a big stage in the open, out in the open, if you have if you're actually going for an intimate experience.
well, yeah, it depends also on how it's mic'd and how it's amped and how the speakers work. But yeah, if you're having like kind of a, I don't know, let's say a singer and like a saxophone duet or something where it's a little more, it's not just like in your face rock and roll. I think a lot of consideration has to be made into the venue and how you're going to do the sound for sure on those kind of more intimate things.
But I guess she's a big name as well, right? I mean,
Yeah, she
you need
is,
to.
but I would say that her kind of like soul music is more less instrumentation and more singing in many cases. Or like I don't I haven't listened to her stuff in a while, but I have listened to her stuff in the past. She was featured on a lot of popular artists in R&B, and I think even some rap and hip hop stuff in the 90s and the 2000s. And her style is more like vocal soul singing with some backing instrumentation, at least as my recollection of it.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I get it. I mean, maybe they just had the levels a little too low. Maybe people were looking for something more. It's hard to say. But then again, if people have been complaining about this problem for 2 fucking years, for Tivoli, I mean, surely people, people can't just be complaining for no reason. Something's wrong there. So they need to hire either a new sound guy or they need to have somebody who's actually a proper audio engineer that understands acoustics go out and measure like the response frequencies. Because what can happen that a lot of people don't realize is there can be like nulls and really boosted frequencies based on how an area is designed. Because anything you can see that's a surface will reflect sound, just almost like a mirror. And there's areas that like these standing waves build up in, and you would think that if all these sounds are reflecting back, that it would be even louder and sound more muddy. And in many cases it is. But there are times where standing waves all kind of converge on a single point, and due to phase cancellation, you completely lose a portion of the sound. Like in a certain area of the room, you can't hear any of the bass between 100 and 200 hertz. So you don't have any bump. You don't have any real bass hitting in that portion of whatever the venue or the area
Yeah.
is. And those nulls are generally a really big problem the smaller the venue you have. But I mean, it's not something that's obvious to a normal person. They're just like, put some fucking loudspeakers in a room and turn them high. Like, that's like
Hmm.
the general idea. But I mean, there's a lot of actual complex acoustics and actually for if you actually look at the mathematics and the theory behind it, it's actually not that complicated. It's just that most people don't know all the theory behind it. So if you're ever interested, I mean, it's a deep dark hole you can dive into all that audio theory. But what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
you got you going there.
what I'm getting at is Tivoli should fucking hire somebody who knows what they're doing, like an acoustic engineer that can make a representation of how flat the frequency response in that whole venue is.
But
And
it's outside.
fair enough, there's still frequency response there. So they need to set up like basically either they don't have enough speakers to create a flat frequency response throughout the venue where people will be standing and listening, or based on the characteristics of the outdoor venue, there's nulls or low peaks or something where people are losing out on certain frequencies depending on where they are based on the acoustic characteristics of that venue. So they can fix that. They just need to measure it and see it. That's what I'm getting at. You can't just throw louder speakers at the problem and fix it necessarily. You might be able to. That might be the issue. But more than anything, it's probably a positioning or a reflection issue or a dampening issue or something like that. I don't know.
Now you know.
I've never
If
seen one of those shows at Tivoli, so I have no fucking idea.
I saw one, what, 2 years ago, I think. And I mean, it might be just me like getting some kind of confirmation bias now from this, but I did feel that the sound was a little bit worse than I expected it to be.
Weak.
Yeah, there was something, I don't know if it's the vocals that I couldn't hear perfectly and I couldn't really discern
Yeah.
the lyrics and things like that.
That's why I always wonder. I mean, usually, in my experience, live music has been, of course, worse musically than anything you'd ever hear in a studio album or whatever, like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's more about the experience of going there and listening to it with friends that like it, or you know what I mean? Like you kind of in the moment. But the sound needs to at least be somewhat fucking reasonable, even if you know that it's a live performance and some of it's backing and some of it's auto-tune. And if it's not, maybe the singer sucks and it doesn't sound nearly as good as it does in the studio. I don't know. But still, you kind of know the song and the general feeling of it. So you're bouncing along, and that's why they make a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, get your fucking act together if you're a sound guy, or if you, and it might not even be the sound guy's fault. They might not be hiring the right people for that. Because honestly, you can't just throw a guy behind there and say, "Is it loud enough?" Yeah, all right, my job's done.
Well, you're making some assumptions there for it.
I am, but what I'm saying is, a lot of people like you were saying earlier. If the sound is good, nobody fucking complains or even notices.
Yeah.
But if it's bad, then they do. What I'm getting at is that a sound guy's job is basically like that. Like nobody will ever tell you, "Hey, great job on the sound." They'll just be like, "Hey, you're fucking up." Like it's one of those jobs where the only time you're going to hear anything from your boss is when you're doing something wrong. You'll never hear that much positive feedback generally. Like
Mhm.
same thing with like a system administrator. Nobody's ever going to tell you, "Hey, the servers are always running. Great job." It's be like, "The servers are fucking down. Fix it." That's what you'll hear, you know?
Well, it's probably kind of the same with most things, you know. It's like if a certain group of people commits a crime, then you start associating with it, even though the majority of those people are not going to be committing the crime.
I don't know.
I'm sure there's some name for this fallacy.
Yeah, it probably is. You're probably right. Anyways, sound gets me
Gets you going.
going. Yeah, gets me going.
Do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I might have misunderstood, but I think you do you feel that concerts are usually worse or more underwhelming
Yes.
than whenever you hear the same music
On a high
recorded?
end, yeah, like on a high end quality. So yeah, of course. I mean, just
But it makes sense in a way, right?
Acoustically and musically, yes, absolutely.
But it makes sense when you have someone just kind of tweaking everything for an album perfectly.
Yeah, the mixing and mastering, everything is
Yeah.
perfect, and then you're reproducing it on like the most ideal conditions you possibly could. Yeah, of course, musically it's gonna sound better. Well, okay, I say musically, sonically it will
Yeah.
sound better. The emotion in the music and playing, I think there's been some live performances that are much better from a musical and emotional standpoint, they just simply weren't captured or reproduced as well sonically. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like you can have a situation where a show is really good, but I feel like nowadays, man, there's so many musicians that don't even know how to actually play music. They're just studio music. Like basically, they just get in a studio. They can't even sing. Some people just auto tune them, and they don't even have. They just have somebody making their whole backing track and instrumentation, and they just go up there and sing and get auto tuned, and they're popular. There's a lot of people like that. Like
Yeah.
when we go to Smookfest and shit, and you see all like half these artists that are just kind of like poppy artists that I would never fucking listen to on a normal basis, and you just happen to be out there drinking, having a good time, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, people listen to this shit. Like this sounds like garbage. Like it sounds like garbage even on an album, but then live it's even worse sometimes. So you know me, I don't go to Smookfest for the music. I just go there for the experience.
You're starting to sound like,
I'm
I
starting
don't
to
know.
sound like a
So
fucking
some grandma's like, this Elvis Presley guy, he just makes noise. I want my Frank Sinatra
No,
back.
it's not true. I'm not saying we've seen some pretty good shows out there. We saw Beck, but see, Beck is an actual real musician. Beck knows how to play multiple instruments and can fucking sing and has been in the game for a long time and knows what he's doing and started out like that. He's not one of these like cookie cutter artists where they're like, wow, you got a pretty face. Let's just slap some songs behind you and make $1 million. That's what I'm getting at. I think there's a bunch of bullshit music nowadays. It's not really musical,
Yeah, but if people like it,
of course. But I
it's like
mean,
if it makes you feel something,
sure. If people like it, great. More power to them. I'm not.
you must like some crappy music as well.
Yeah,
Tell me what's your guilty pleasure?
What's my guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend were joking yesterday. We had a song stuck in our head. It's this terrible Alan Jackson number from like 1993 or 1994. It's called the Chattahoochee, and he's talking about his life growing up. But the music video is so bad and so cheesy, and he's like water skiing on a river, and he's a country guy, so there's a lot of yeehaws and all that. But the chorus is way down. Here's the chorus. I'm gonna quote it for you. It's way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. It gets hotter than a hoochie coochie. And then he goes on a few things, and he says, basically, he's talking about his life. And at one point, he's like, he learned a lot about living and a little about love. It's a little country tune, Dolph. It really, it's like the dumbest, worst, guilty pleasure country song. And yeah, I don't know. But actually, the thing is, Alan Jackson's had a really storied and well received career in the country music world. Yeah. So anyways, it's one of those songs where we just, I don't know, for some reason it got stuck in our head, and then we had to actually watch the video to get it kind of stuck out of your head, because the only reason songs get stuck in your head is because you don't remember how the lyrics go and how they resolve.
Is it?
Yes, that's like the main reason why you can't get something out of your head, because you're trying to work out. At least when I read, and it seemed convincing, and it seemed like this was a pretty well done, I don't know,
Research.
hypothesis
Yeah.
or yeah. But it's basically, if you know a piece of a song and it comes into your head, like you're trying to work out what the words are or what the music content is that completes it, and that's why it gets caught in your head. So the next time that happens to you, if you want to get it out, just just watch listen to the song, get it worked out.
I don't know if, I mean, it's not that I don't believe it, but I have a feeling that sometimes even when I fully know the melody and the lyrics, it can
It's
still
just
get
stuck in your head.
stuck in my head.
I'm not saying I guess it's the only fucking reason, but I think it's the main one. When something's really just infectiously caught, see if you know every single word to it. See if you really fully know that song, like
But-
back to back, back to front.
Okay, Ford, but that's something that got stuck in your head, but that's not necessarily a guilty pleasure. Do you actually like the song?
No, not really.
Yeah, a guilty pleasure, I guess, would be like that kind of music, or that one song that you listen to it when you're at home with headphones and nobody else will know that you're listening to it, like you turn off your whatever streaming, I am listening to this now, to your Twitter feed, just because you don't want people to know that you're actually listening to this and you enjoy it.
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think I have anything that I would be embarrassed to say. I mean, probably.
Well, yeah, okay, embarrassed is,
Or like,
after a certain
or that
age.
I think is really bad. I mean, I guess the only thing that I would put in that kind of, or like a poppy category that's not really I don't know. You can't sit back and say, "Wow, this music's really deep, man. Like this hits me on so many levels." And I'm not talking about that. I'm not trying to be that elitist asshole
No,
that's
no,
like,
no.
"Music
Yeah.
nowadays has no real fucking message, man. All these guys just looking for some
Hmm.
money." That's not what I'm trying to get at. What I'm getting at is that there are actually many people who literally are not musically talented. A, don't know how to play an instrument. B, don't know how to fucking sing in key. And I'm not saying I can. I'm just saying I know they're out there like that, and they literally have auto-tune prop them up with some backing instrumentation that they don't play and nobody in their band plays. They just buy an instrumental, and they have some fucking $1 million producer, or they have a ghostwriter write the lyrics for them. They sing the song, they have a fucking master engineers auto-tune it, and basically they're a good-looking face and some tits and ass that can dance on a video, and they make millions of dollars. That's what I'm getting at. There's a bunch of these bullshit non-musical groups, and people like it,
You know,
whatever.
I personally, I really don't care if a person can sing or if the music makes me feel something
Fair
and I
enough.
do
Yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
it. I don't really care.
Well, okay, but that's when the disconnect comes when you listen to the studio album that's been put through all that shit, and that music makes you feel something maybe, and then
Yeah.
you show up at the live show and you realize they can't.
Yeah, and they
That's what I'm
just
getting at. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that's what's going to piss you off if you paid hard money. You're like, wow, I love this fucking song. Yeah, I'm going to go see them live, and then you show up and it's fucking terrible, and you're like, you just feel cheated.
yeah, that might have happened actually to me. I can't
Yeah,
name an instance.
yeah.
Well, on the guilty pleasure thing, a friend of mine actually posted on Facebook
I like
this
some
week.
Taylor Swift shit.
You do?
Yeah, I listen to that. What do we like? What do I like? That 22 song and like all that. I don't know about you. I'm feeling 22.
I'm not sure I like any of like
It's just
yeah,
catchy.
I'm
It's
not
just
sure.
catchy as fuck, man. I don't know. I think it's just infectiously catchy.
No, no, I
Yeah.
completely understand. I just don't think it caught me, so to say. But a friend of mine posted on Facebook earlier this week. He just randomly posted out his top 10 Eurodance tracks. So it's basically like just European dance music from the 90s.
Sure.
And I was looking at it, and I was like,
Songs of your youth.
yeah, exactly. Like stuff that's back in
Yeah.
back in the day. I was like, oh man, this is so shitty. You know, I would never get caught listening to this. But I ended up listening to it a lot, either because it's on TV or just because you hear it play here and there.
Yeah.
And I was going through the list, and I was like, oh man, there's a Mr. Vane here or a Mysterious Girl, you know, and shit like that. Like for a moment I was like, fuck, I guess in a way I do like these songs nowadays because of the nostalgia and because they are catchy and because I'm older and
Do you
I don't
like,
give a shit anymore
did
about
you ever listen to it? Did you like Duran Duran?
I never got into Duran Duran.
Okay. That's one of those things that
But Duran Duran are good.
Yeah, yeah, but that's one of those things that when I was young and growing up, I didn't really have a big opinion or like a musical wealth of knowledge about what was good or what was
Mhm.
bad. It was just, yeah, if this makes me feel good, I'll listen to it or whatever. And they played, I don't know, a bunch of shit on the radio, but Duran Duran was one of the things that, God, that was like on every 40 minutes. It was like Duran Duran Come Undone was on. And that was a good fucking song. But after I heard it so much, I guess at one point I just kind of
Yeah, it
like,
gets saturated.
it became background noise, and it also you felt like it was just kind of I don't know. That's normal, right? Like it set the bar to a certain level of what quality music should be, or what I don't know a good song should be.
Mhm.
So there was all this stuff back in the day, like Ace of Base and Duran
Yeah, that's
Duran,
another one. Ace
all
of
this
Base was there
shit
on
that
the
came
list.
out, and after a while you were like, okay, whatever, that is what it is. It's a little cheesy, but I like it or whatever. And then like 10 years, 20 years later, you listen to the same song and you're like, God damn, that's actually a good fucking song.
Yeah.
Just on the merits of musical content and the way it was arranged and structured and sounds and the instrumentation. You're just like, damn, that was some good shit, you know? No wonder it was popular, you know?
Yeah, you know, I think part of it is you're older, so you give less of a shit about trying to pretend that you don't like something because it's popular or something like that.
Yeah.
Your taste also develops.
Yeah.
And at least for me, what I noticed a lot in these Eurodance songs is nostalgia. Nostalgia was really a big thing for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's just I mean, the songs are catchy. I know them, even though I never really spent much time actively listening to them. I just know them because you hear them,
Yeah.
here and there. And yeah, I guess it just brings you back to to old memories, and the songs are catchy, and you
Yeah, you
just
should check
find
out.
yourself
You should check out that.
singing "Mysterious Girl" in the middle of the office.
Yeah, you should
That's
check
what.
out that Alan Jackson song. If you're looking for some real early '90s country,
No, I'm not.
terrible
I'm not
video.
for it. I'm
Hey,
not.
hey, it's 3 minutes of your life you'll never get back. But you can listen to Alan Jackson Chattahoochee, and for some reason that was stuck in my head the other day.
I'm not. But
There you go.
I'm pretty sure that as soon as this finishes, right after listening to
just
the
show it to you.
bagpipes, you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna play the
We'll hit up.
Ucha Coochie or whatever the fuck it's called.
This is Chattahoochee. Come on.
Chattahoochee.
We'll hit up the bagpipes going home, and then we'll hit up some Alan Jackson. I'll just show you a little bit of my youth, maybe. I don't know. There was a period where I listened to a lot of country because my family's all from Louisiana, and
well, was it modern, like country, contemporary country?
Yeah, like
or?
I guess, modern country, I guess, and some of it, I think a lot of country. This is actually one of those things where with music, you know how some people are like, "Oh, that genre sucks. I hate that genre." I think there's good music in every fucking genre. It's just like in every genre, 90% of the music is shit and 10% of it's actually good. And you have to be able to seek it out. And some people don't have the patience to seek out good stuff. And also,
Which I understand.
And I understand. And also, not every genre is necessarily what you think based on your knowledge of it is your thing or your forte.
Mhm.
You're like, I get it. There's probably good music there, good country there, but I don't like it. And some people are like that. But I hate those people that just blanket fucking just write off an entire genre entirely as if, oh yeah, all that shit sucks.
Yeah.
Like there's no good X, like whatever that genre of music it is. Because honestly, if you talk to some people that actually are in the know or, you do enough research to kind of explore what the good stuff is and take some time to maybe develop at least a basic appreciation of it. I never thought I would like country because I grew up loving hip hop and rap and like old East Coast rap and down south and West Coast. I mean, pretty much any hip hop and rap. I was on that and like R&B and stuff like that. And a little bit like I really liked when they were doing some of the more hybrid kind of like rock rap crossovers. There was a lot of bad ones, but there was a few that were pretty popular and good. And say what you will about like Linkin Park lyrics and shit like that, but but Linkin Park was really popular. And musically, I thought like I've actually listened to some of their shit relatively recently, and liked it still.
I think I do. I mean, of course, not of course. I don't like new metal and that whole genre, but I listened so much to the first Linkin Park album.
What is Hybrid Theory or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I listened so much to it when I was a kid that I would say that I like it as well.
Chester just killed himself.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know if you brought Linkin Park up because of that or just randomly.
I saw an article about it the other day. It wasn't because of that. I was just because I grew up listening to hip hop and rap. I remember there was that period where there was that crossover of like
metal and
of Linkin Park kind of came, and I remember on Hybrid Theory, I think that whole album was done with an MPC, doing all the drums. So they had a drum machine. They didn't actually have proper real drums, I think, back at the time. And so they brought kind of like the hip hop program drums from the MPC into with like the rock. And then I don't know. I just thought it was a nice mixture that was refreshing at the time. And I feel like it stood the test of time pretty well.
I haven't heard it in a long time, but I listened a lot to it when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
And it's one of those things. I wouldn't say that I like that genre, but they
did it pretty well.
That album,
there's a lot of shitty music in that genre for sure. That's one of those things. That's what I'm saying. Like, 90% of music in that genre probably I'm not a big fan of.
I think
but that album was really fucking good, and I think some of their later work was okay.
I don't think I listened.
I
to
don't remember.
Else.
I think maybe I listened to like Meteora or I don't remember all the albums. I know they did one with like Jay-Z. It was like a compilation or it was like a remix, like Jay-Z with some of their previously popular songs, and it was just kind of okay. Like I wasn't that wild about it, but yeah.
For me, it's a little bit like grunge. I don't like grunge. Like I really don't like grunge music, but I love Nirvana.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you also have these bands that just transcend the genre itself.
Yeah.
They're basically their own thing, or they define the genre.
Yeah, that's fair.
With country, I guess it's the same thing as you're saying earlier.
Yeah,
with country,
like
I don't like
Alan Jackson, Chattahoochee. I will say categorically, it's not a good song. Okay, is it? It's kind of catchy, yes. Is it a good song? No, I don't think so. But there is some like modern, and there's a lot of modern country. I don't really think is very good. There's a few like some of like Kenny Chesney's earlier albums. I think are really good.
Who?
Kenny Chesney.
No idea who it is.
Now he's put out a bunch of stuff, and I don't like all of his stuff, but some of his earlier albums and stuff like that, I thought were really fucking good. And for whatever reason, at that time in my life, like that's what I needed to hear. That's what I wanted to hear. So I don't know. There's, which is strange from a guy that's like all I listen to is rap and hip hop, and they're like, "Wow, you like country too?" And it's like, yeah, I like anything. I like classical. I like whatever. It doesn't really matter what the genre is, as long as like I think I need certain types of music at different points in my life, or like for different moods, or like when I'm working, I want to hear drum and bass. Like that's what makes me work. Like that's something that I can work to is drum and bass.
Such a modern, open-minded man for it. That's why I like you.
I've gotten way more into electronic music since I've been in Europe, though.
You
I guess
have?
I've had more access to like more.
Why do you have more access here
Well,
than
I
in the
mean,
States?
yeah, everything was internet connected and stuff like that. What I mean is like, well, to be honest, I listened to a decent amount of drum and bass in the U.S. before I left, but I felt like when I got here, I started getting different recommendations for different types of electronic music that I wasn't. Or like,
Well, within our group of friends,
Yeah,
there
we
is a propensity for electronic music.
yeah. So I guess I got more like access to suggestions about different stuff, or I would hear stuff that some of the guys were listening to, and I'd be like, "Whoa, what is that? I really fucking like that." And then I would plug that into my Google Play or Spotify or whatever, and then I would be like, "All right, I like." You find like maybe 20 or 30% based on the radio. You're like, "Okay, I'll thumbs up that track," and then you start building something that's like, "Okay, that I like this shit."
Yeah, our group is also the reason. I never really liked. I was always a rock music kind of guy.
Yeah.
Um,
You weren't
but
big into electronic.
no,
were you?
I never liked electronic music.
And
but
now you got like
I've,
synthesizers and all kind of shit.
well,
like,
that's different. You
well,
can make rock music with
yeah,
synthesizers,
of course, but I mean, don't you think part of the reason you got some of it is not just rock, but also because of the electronic stuff?
And there might be a little bit, but generally speaking, I would say that it's not because of that.
All right, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off though.
But yeah, I was never into electronic music, and just spending time with you guys, and in a way, kind of being forced to listen to whatever you guys were playing. I've started carving my own taste within the different genres.
Yeah, I know what did it for you too.
What
and
was
this
it?
is on the audio file point. When we got that subwoofer,
Oh yeah, that made such a difference. Actually,
electronic
yeah,
music with bass and stuff. Electronic music is really not the same without the low end.
No, that is true for it. I always like catchy melodies and stuff like that, because I guess I always listened to music in either on the computer or just with computer speakers, so nothing too fancy. And then once we got that 8,000 krona subwoofer, and we started listening to some electronic music, and I could actually feel the fucking vibrations and the bass and stuff like that. It really started. It was an awakening. It really started making sense to me.
Yeah, that you need the low end there as well. There's a lot of content there that's really important to especially certain genres. Or it's not like you need a subwoofer for some old like 1940s blues shit or something.
No, and
But certain genres of music like hip hop and electronic music in particular are so driven by the bass line and
the kick drum
and the kick drum that if you don't have it, it's kind of hard to understand in many ways why people like it. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Because you're not really talking about melodic masterpieces with some of these things. It's more instrument.
Getting you to dance.
Yeah, more percussion driven than melody and instrumentation driven, I guess, in that sense. Whereas like the main instrument is the drums with some support from the others. Whereas in the opposite is like melody and stuff like that, and the chord structure, and then just the drums are there to kind of add something.
Just to add time to it to make everything go in time.
Yeah.
No, it's it was the changing moment. It was very clearly the thing that made me. It's like, okay, now I understand house music, for example.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought house was just so boring.
Yeah.
And it's just, okay, you just have this fucking beat, and then
it never changes.
Yeah, and it never changes. It's like
the same on every
8 minutes of the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And then even if you have someone singing, they're just singing like 6 words over and over for 4 minutes straight.
Yeah.
and then once we got that subwoofer, and I actually heard the music as it should be,
Yeah.
it made more sense. It doesn't mean that I'm a big fan of house music now and stuff like that, but I've definitely carved out my taste within the electronic music genre.
And what's that? Your favorite is like techno style stuff, like old Detroit style, or what?
No, not old Detroit. I think if I had to choose one specific genre of electronic music, it would be some kind of minimal techno. You know, there's some nice. There's still quite some nice melodic progressions there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of repetition, but the minimalistic part of it reminds me a lot of punk.
Okay.
Which I love punk music.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it gets like I like that kind of drony feel, you know, that you're kind of just listening to the same thing, but then there's this small variation here and there.
Yeah.
And then since it's minimal music, I guess to make different things stand out, you actually have a lot of small variations, like either with sounds or like you have small variations that sound very different from one another.
Yeah.
And there's a bit more emphasis on melody as well.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like about Neelix, for example, which is not really minimal.
No, that's
but
like
it's like psytrance or progressive trance or whatever people want to call it. But it's very melodic, and I was always a melody kind of guy.
Yeah.
And talking about Neelix is coming to the next Elements.
Along with
Morten
Granau. That's going to be a sick show. We went to Elements not this last time, but the time before.
The one before. I think it was number 4.
And we had a great time.
It was awesome.
And it was a little cold outside, and
it was very warm inside.
It was very warm inside, but which was awesome. Anyways, the thing was great. I'm not trying to take away from it, but that show is going to be dope. Neelix and Morten Granau as well. There, I mean, that's going to be at least. What do you think? 4 hours of the whole set will be like something,
probably
one of them.
Yeah.
And you know, surely with names like that, if you haven't checked out Morten Granau or Neelix and you like electronic music, you're missing out. You could check out like Neelix, Angels of Destruction is a pretty good track.
Yeah, Reflect is the first one that I heard.
Reflect is Morten Granau, right?
No, it's Neelix as well.
But what's?
I don't know. I don't know any
I'm
names.
trying to think of a name of a specific Morten Granau track, and I can't think of one offhand.
If only we had the internet.
Well,
with
we
us.
do. But, anyways, that's gonna be dope. We're gonna go that. What is it? September 30? You said maybe or something.
Yeah, around that time.
You just search
30th,
for like
maybe?
Elements Psytrance Copenhagen or something, and you'll find it. Pretty nice. And make sure to buy the early bird tickets if you want to go, because I think you save a lot of money.
You're gonna save at least a few hundred kroner.
Are they still gonna hold it in the same place up in the north?
I don't know. It was on Norhavn.
Yeah, Norhavn last time in that warehouse.
Or was it on Hefselen?
No, it was in Norhavn.
Norhavn?
Yeah, it was Norhavn.
Yeah, they have a bunch of warehouses there.
So that should be good. A lot of Swedes came over too. There was a bunch of Swedish people there. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but it was cool, man. I like the Swedes. I think they party. I don't know. They party hard. They have a good time. So it's a good time. We ate some bananas there. Remember that guy was so
Holy
excited.
Shit, I bought 5 bananas
when we
at
ordered
once.
5 bananas,
point.
that guy was excited. He was like, 5 banana.
Yeah, he must have thought that was a monkey or something. He was very excited.
Yeah.
5 bananas at once.
Yeah. So I don't know what else we got. I mean, it's a little bit of slow news here. They're talking about banning diesel fuel cars in the city. Majority of local politicians in Copenhagen would like to see a ban of diesel vehicles driving in the city.
For when?
I don't know. I guess it's some people just talking
2025.
about... no, this is talking about other cities. Paris, Madrid, Athens, and Mexico announced they'll ban diesel cars starting in 2025. So maybe they're talking about whether they should in Copenhagen. It's estimated that 540 people die as a result of air pollution in Copenhagen every year.
Is that for Copenhagen or for Denmark?
Copenhagen.
So how they do that? There would be like
some statistical model, I guess.
No, but there would be like a certain line that if you pass here, you cannot bring a diesel car.
I guess so. Yeah, maybe. Possibly.
Okay, that sounds.
And then you get a fine
difficult
if it's not.
to enforce.
Well, is it really though? They'll probably have something. You probably need a tag on your car that shows that it's not a diesel, like some registration tag. And then if they see that your car doesn't have this tag, then they'll be like, "Excuse me, sir," and then oh yeah, sorry, I didn't know, and then you'll get a fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably how it'll work.
It is estimated that 540 people die as a result of air pollution. 540 people
every year in Copenhagen.
I'm sure that, I mean, I don't want to bash on this, but I'm sure that there's a lot more people dying from other things that
Sure.
maybe would be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I think it's not necessarily that somebody has to die for it to be a good idea. I just think the overall, I don't know. When I get off the metro, like the air here where I live feels pretty clean. When I go to Norport and I get off the metro there, the first thing I'm greeted by is a huge wave of like diesel exhaust from the bus.
Mhm.
And all that traffic that's going along that street there at Norport Station. I can notice, and especially when you're riding your bike, you can noticeably tell that diesel fumes. Like sometimes when a big truck or bus passes by, I try to take a deep breath of like clean air and like hold it until that shit is past me and I feel like I can get a breath of clean air. And there's a bunch of heavy metals in that's been linked to like Alzheimer's or other kind of fucked up like mental degenerative stuff like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, I think. I want to say that's true. Don't quote me on that, but I remember reading some stuff about the metals and the heavy metals in that exhaust is also really bad. But just in general, I mean, whether it's gasoline or diesel, we have too many cars producing too much waste for too little effort. Like it's so wasteful for one person like in Copenhagen, you're going to drive one car that's going to emit like I don't know how much waste whereas you could just ride a bike instead and have such a smaller footprint like everybody else. I get it if you live in the country and we should probably
Or
do
if you
things
have
to
kids.
reduce. If you have kids, you can take a cargo. Everybody takes those cargo bikes and just drags them around on cargo bikes. Yeah, maybe sometimes it's more practical to bring a car. I'm not saying entirely cut it out, but you could buy an electric car. You could buy a regular clean gasoline car. You could get, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different options if you're talking about inside the city of Copenhagen that you could do. You could take fucking public transport like everybody else does with a baby carriage, a pram, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a pretty good idea. Less cars emitting stuff in the city, especially one that's as tightly. It's a pretty dense city, Copenhagen, I guess.
I think it's something that makes sense, and
I-
it will happen sooner or later, regardless of people pushing for
I
it or
came
not.
from Dallas and Houston, so I'm used to huge roads and big wide open freeways and shit and fucking millions of cars, and I hate that shit. The less cars there are, the better in my mind. It's stressful, it's loud, it's dirty, it's inefficient, it's bad for the environment. It again, you're separated in your own entire environment. It's like you're not even part of the city or whatever. You're like your own entity in your car. So I don't know. I think it's good if they ban.
I've been
More-
living here for long enough
cars.
to actually grow a bit of a distaste for cars as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
But-
I understand how someone who has a different lifestyle than me might need a car. I mean, I don't need one. I live close to the center. I just don't have
Yeah.
those
Anyways,
responsibilities.
I mean, according to this article, it's going to be pretty hard to do anyway, because before the ban can become a reality, laws governing environmental zones regulated by the EPA would have to be changed, and at least in some in Parliament don't seem to be on board. They're saying it would hurt the economy of private citizens. People have purchased cars that are on the market today believing they can be used for a few years. Well, so anyways, I mean, this isn't necessarily a guarantee. They're just talking about it. I'm just getting at the point that I think most people that live in the city that don't have some other ulterior motive of having a car. Oh, do we even know? I know like one person, maybe two people that own a car here in the city.
What do you mean? You know what I mean? You know a lot. You have a lot more colleagues that
Okay,
own cars.
3 or 4 max. Yeah, 3 or 4 people out of everybody I know or that I work with have a car. And I would say that I only see them use those cars on a pretty rare basis, meaning that the majority of the days they get by without a car just fine. So this is what I'm getting at. Like, is it really necessary in Copenhagen itself? If you're not traversing from like an hour away or something else, and even in many of those cases, you can take transport. But I could understand you'd want a car if you were like living in Højtostrup or something.
We always keep going back to Højtostrup.
Yeah, I've never even been there.
Well, the thing is also that our work environment is very young. It's not like you work with in a company with 500 people and more than half of them are middle-aged people, you know? That would, I assume, ramp up the amount of
I
people
guess,
who have
but
cars.
I just don't even know that many people that have cars in general.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that I think that says more about you and your circle of friends or acquaintances
Maybe it
than
does.
about the usage of cars.
Wouldn't you think that the American in the room would have the most friends with cars? We're all about that oil and
I
freedom and
Yeah,
gasoline and
but you don't choose your friends based on how close to your old American roots they are, right?
yeah. Well, I don't know. You
Do you have
never
any
know.
Mexican friends here for it? See,
No, no, I
I
don't.
rest my
No, I
case.
don't.
Do you have I mean, besides Danish, of course, is there any nationality that you clearly have more friends from that nationality than from the others besides Danes?
Uh, More friends from that nationality than the others.
You know, two Portuguese. I
Yeah,
know that.
I would say either Portuguese and there's also some
Greeks.
yeah, Greeks and Portuguese, maybe some Spanish. I know a bunch of Spanish people that I guess I wouldn't say I'm like friends with them, but they're like pretty good acquaintances. Like we
Hmm.
seem to get along. Like we would be friends or like hang out more probably if the circumstances were slightly different. Like I go to Danish class with a bunch of people, and there's a lot of people in my class I don't really care for or care about. And then there's a few people that we like talk before and after and stuff. And we never really took it the step farther of being like, oh hey man, we should hang out or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like it seems like they would be a good fit. So Portuguese, Spanish, and Greek, I think.
So it's all Southern Europe right there, huh?
That's right. I like that
That's
lifestyle.
it's the more easygoing or what?
Yeah, don't work too hard.
What? Oof. Was that a jab? I felt that it was a bit of a jab,
It,
but
it was not necessarily a jab. It was like
it's
a
more like
tongue in cheek.
a straight right.
It was in jest. You know, it was like said in jest. It wasn't really a serious claim. It was more a joke.
I'll let you go now, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind. You know, I'm gonna be
Speak,
wary of you.
Speaking of keeping in the back of my mind, we got to wrap it up pretty soon because me and my girlfriend are gonna go to an Italian restaurant tonight. We're gonna go to Venetia. That's a place I've talked
Which
about.
one is that?
It's
Or where
in
is it?
it's on Newhound, and you would
Oh
think
yeah, the one you talked about
yeah,
a
yeah.
few times before.
You would think that a place on Newhound is really touristy and bad and overpriced, but it's actually not very expensive for both of us. We end up paying like 700, which is pretty okay and normal by Copenhagen standards for two people
For
to eat
two
at a
people.
restaurant.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And it's on Newhound, which is very nice. And I would say that it's actually the food is amazing. And there's a waiter there that's been there the entire time for like 4 years that I've been there. His service is better than anybody in Denmark. Like that guy actually knows how to do service. He's funny. He's helpful. He
Is he
comes.
Italian?
I don't know what he is. He speaks Danish, but I don't think he's Danish. He probably is Italian. Yeah, yeah. She's nodding at me, telling me he's Italian. But he's funny. He's helpful. He comes more often to the table to make sure you have everything you need.
Mm-hmm.
But he can also kind of read when you don't really need him there. You know,
Yeah.
like he's not overbearing and bothering you all the time, but he's always there enough to where if you need something, he's like right there. So, anyways, just good service. The food is great. I don't know the story in the kitchen there, but the food is always consistently good. Yeah, we like it. Venetia. It's one of the best Italian places I think we've been. The other really good one is the one in Tivoli. And I forget the name of that particular restaurant in Tivoli, but I think there's only one like Italian restaurant there. It's quite good as well.
Have you been to any high-end Italian restaurants? Like somewhere where you'd spend more than 700 for two people?
We went to some pretty high-end Italian places in Houston. Now, of course, this is like I don't know, an American or a Houston representation
Italian-American,
of Italian.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe you could say if real Italians went there, they would say, "Oh, this isn't quite." I don't know. You know, like I've heard Italian people can be kind of picky and they like to talk with their hands, and sometimes they grumble about things. You know, so maybe they would go there and feel like it was not authentic. But we've been some really like fine dining Italian places in the U.S., so I feel like I have some understanding of what a good Italian place would be. Sorrento, I think.
Sorrento.
In Houston, yeah. It's pretty good. We did have one sort of disappointing experience surrounding I think we went for like a Christmas thing or something. Man, whenever you go to restaurants on like a date that it's, I don't know, in the US, they have like, I don't know. Okay, so everybody goes to dinner for Valentine's. I guess that's a worldwide thing now, or mostly popular in many places. But like sometimes it's like Christmas dinner or like a New Year's thing. And anytime you have one of these big dates, they often do the set menus. And not only that, they oversell the tables because everybody wants to book it and they don't want to turn anyone away. So then there's too many people. There's set menus. The service sucks. They're trying to rush her out, and the food service quality is less. So there's been one time we went to Sorrento that wasn't very good. That we were a little bit disappointed with the service.
There you go.
So there you go.
2-star review on Yelp.
No, no,
Did you review
no.
them on Yelp?
Not them. We gave another one a pretty shitty review though. They added a mandatory tip of like several $100 or something.
Several hundred.
Yeah, and the service was terrible.
But
They like forgot about us for like an hour. Like we didn't have any napkins. They didn't bring us any food. Whatever we got was cold. Then they brought us the wrong thing. They put it like it was. Honestly, I mean, you joke that I like to complain a little bit. Like honestly,
Man,
when
no
it comes
shit.
to food, I'm pretty easygoing. Like just bring me what I want and just make sure it's right. Like I'm gonna be clear with you what I want. Just don't fuck my shit up completely. And they fucked it up completely. And on top of that, it was a Valentine's dinner, so it's supposed to be a romantic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they added a mandatory tip. They didn't even.
I mean, it was only 2 people.
Yeah, it was like two people, and the total bill with the tip was like $400 or $500, and like $200 or $300 of that was a tip that I had no say in the matter. Yeah, like half of the meal. Yeah,
but because it's normal to have mandatory tip when you have large groups.
Yeah, or I think in set menus, like where you're going for Valentine's, they try to pack all these people in. I never go out really. We don't go out for Valentine's Day dinners anymore because that shit is always a nightmare. It's always a bad experience on one of those like days like that. So we try to go either before or after and avoid all the bullshit. So there you go.
Sounds like this episode's tips from Ford.
Pro tips. Valentine's Day and bagpipes. All right, should we check out? I think we should cut it here because I got to get ready.
Yeah,
but before we do,
Mhm.
I need you to hear those bagpipes. So we'll see.
Do you want me to hear them before we end
the
this
stream?
or what?
No, because I think the sound isn't.
No,
okay.
and we might get into some copyright violation kind
feedback issues or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. So we'll call it here. If you guys like it, leave a review on Facebook or on Stitcher.
of thing. Just like our
or
Facebook
whatever.
page.
And yeah, like the
That
Facebook
will help.
page and send us a message. Shoot us a message on Facebook. If you have some article that you think is cool, some news related to Copenhagen or Denmark,
Or
you
not.
have
It's not like we spend that much time talking about Copenhagen, to be
if
honest.
you have some commentary for us and tell us how
how
funny we are. No, okay. How good my transitions are. Did you hear that one earlier? I was talking
which
about
one?
the sound, and I was like speaking about annoying sounds and bagpipes or something, and then I transitioned into the bad sound of Erica Badu thing.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
You didn't
actually.
even say
no,
anything.
I didn't.
I
notice.
remember thinking at the time, man, I thought that was a slick transition.
I didn't notice
All
for
right.
it. I mean, but it's like doing good sound, right? When it's done correctly, you don't even notice it.
That's right. All right. Well, we'll be here next week. See you guys then.
All right, see you guys.